Jumping into Path of Exile 2, I didn't know what to expect. The first game was an ARPG legend, which I missed. A game that defined depth, complexity, and absolute chaos in the best way possible. But PoE 2? What was it, and could it really live up to the hype of PoE 1? I can confidently say it's not just a sequel, it's a revolution. Right from the start, Path of Exile 2 hits different. The combat, it's smooth, weighty, and every attack feels like it matters. Immediately, I noticed the outstanding graphics, the detail of the characters. Compared to the only other ARPG I have ever played, Diablo 4, it was like night and day. From what I heard, the animations have been overhauled. Even playing Titan, which was my first class of choice, every swing, spell, and dodge is buttery smooth. Yeah, you can dodge roll in this game. If you guys know me, I love to dodge roll. Now let's talk about the class system. We're looking at 12 distinct classes now, including ascendancies of course, each with their own starting point on the massive galaxy brain skill tree. But what really changes the game, a dual specialization. You can shift between two skill sets seamlessly, which adds an insane amount of build diversity. Now let's talk weapons. Path of Exile 2 completely changes how they work. Every weapon type has its own unique set of attacks and animations. Bows, you're not just standing there auto-firing, you're chaining skills, charging shots, and unleashing devastating combos. And don't get me started on spears. Finally, an ARPG where spears feel good. Of course, I wouldn't know because I've never played ARPG. I digress. Let's go back to the game's graphics and what I mentioned earlier in terms of the atmosphere. Now, the world of Wraeclass feels so alive, and at the same time very deadly. Dynamic lighting, improved physics, and an art style that leans even harder into that gritty, dark fantasy aesthetic. Every dungeon, every town, every ruined battlefield tells a story just through its design. And of course, we got to talk about the boss fights. Now, if you thought PoE 1 had some tough encounters, strap in. These bosses have real mechanics now. In fact, many people are comparing this to Souls and calling it an ARPG Souls game. Now, I did have the pleasure of playing every Dark Souls game except Demon Souls. I would agree that the boss fights are challenging, and then you can roll. I think that's pretty much the only components of Dark Souls I can think about right now that's really comparable. But yeah, now I would rate that comparison maybe 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's kind of like it. Yeah, I mean, boss fights and you roll in. I mean, build diversity obviously is way more complex. Now, of course, Path of Exile would not be Path of Exile without its legendary skill tree, and don't worry, it's actually more insane. Path of Exile 2 introduces some much needed quality of life changes, linking skills and support gems is way more intuitive, and the passive tree has been refined for better progression. It's still the ultimate theory crafter's dream, but without quite as many "oh no, I just bricked my build" moments. Loot and gear progression also feel better than ever. There's less reliance on endless currency juggling, and the new crafting system gives players more control over their builds. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still Path of Exile, and min-maxing is king, but it's a little more approachable this time around. So is Path of Exile 2 just another sequel? Absolutely not. It is an evolution, a game that builds on everything PoE 1 did right while making smart changes that improve the experience. Whether you're a veteran Exile or someone who bounced off the first game, this is the ARPG for 2025. Anyway, this is just the beginning for us here at the channel. I will be covering PoE in depth in the coming weeks and subsequently months. We'll start with the Titan boss guide for noobs. We are going to start with the Act 1 to 3 bosses, break them down and have some fun. And I'll be making plenty of noob friendly tutorials, and when I say noob, I mean baby noob. So yeah, look out for that, guys. We are back. Until next time.